Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome back to Sandling Junction. Now, I know it's been a little while since I put a video out there, and it's for a couple of reasons. One, I have been extremely busy painting, doing some commissions, and also running the gallery. But also, I have been struggling with a little dilemma when it comes to part of the layout. Now, I know you guys have always been there to help me out and give me advice, and I appreciate that a lot, but this one I felt that I needed to get done myself. I know I've talked to Julian about it, and yeah, between us there are some ideas, but essentially I've had to sort this one out. Now, what am I alluding to? Well, it goes back to an earlier video when I was trying to look at doing my own platform on the layout using a laser engraver as opposed to any other sort of structures. Now, I've done all sorts of plans for platforms over the time. I've used bits of wood as solid lumps. I have created bits of MDF that I cut within the gallery to create the right sizes. I've also gone to extensive lengths to paint the side walling of the Pico sort of prescribed plastic ones that you can get, glue them all together, make a whole thing of that with plastic card. All of those things are perfectly okay to do. What I wanted to do is make something that I could build myself and also become quite modular. So I set about the idea, and it's gone through several iterations over the time. It's some of that I want to show you in this video, and to show you where I've got so far with all of that and see where I go from here on in. So I'm going to turn the camera down. We're going to see some of the messes that I've made and see some of the thoughts and the answers that I've come up with. So let's get on, let's see what it's all about. Okay, so there may be little bits of footage that I've done on this little journey so far that maybe you haven't seen, that I will share with you during the course of this video. Essentially, the whole idea was to be able to make wooden platforms for Sandling Junction and to have them maybe modular so that I could lift them on, do some modeling on them, put them back on and not have any issues. And the whole thing started with this whole idea here, which you saw the video on. I think, I'm not even sure if I completed this on the video, but you can probably remember and tell me, but it was okay. It was an initial attempt at designing a platform with edging. Everything about it was okay, but it wasn't good in terms of a finished product. It wasn't totally thought out, and I wanted it to be better than this. So although this served me well, it was a learning curve and I had a lot of fun making it and showing you guys how I made it, I needed to move on from that. So let's just put that one over here out the way. There's a lot of lessons in that one, I've got to say. So what I designed then was a flexibility within the platform. So I wanted to have something that I could create. This would be the outer side walling, and I was, and still may do on occasions, put a printed piece of brick paper on here. I have printed some. I have the I downloaded from Scale Scenes. I think they are 3D Scale Scenes, something like that. I downloaded their kit to print bricks on here, and I've done that on sticky sided paper in the same way that you see Julian from Station Road do his all the time, and he believes in that way, and I totally agree. It's a great way of doing it. I just wanted to still go back to the printed or engraved brick version that I'd done in the past. I don't know if you can see that too well, but that's really where I was still headed. So I have options. I have the option to put brick paper on here and to weather that up. It's a lot quicker, it's a lot cleaner, and to a degree it's a lot easier, because if I engrave the brick, it still needs painting, it still needs dealing with, unlike that of text or that of printed material. So anyway, there is that. Now, this would be fantastic, an idea, if I am doing curvature bay platforms, and I know I've got to, but it has issues as well. It's not as simple an idea as you can see, because a 3D engraver, or certainly not, sorry, not a 3D printer, a laser engraver has maximum bed sizes, and in my one it's 400 millimeters, about 16 inches, and then you have to put another piece to it. So how was I going to do that? I couldn't just end to end, and they wouldn't stand the chance at all. And so I decided to half lap them. So I would print a smaller piece for the inside, which will allow me to put a base and a top on. Fine, not a problem with that. That works as well. There is a simpler way of doing that, and that is to make a double wall, not two pieces here, because the problem I've got is getting this in the right position. So if I have this and make everything just slightly smaller, thinner, then I would be able to make a box out of this without worrying about that inner wall. However, the drawback with this is length, and I picked this up a few minutes ago, and it literally, the weight just cracked through these two pieces here. They were not able to sustain the pressure, and so this piece on the inside of the joint just cracked, and it's not given, but it is not good. So there are limitations to what you can do with this. Having said that, if you bend this, then you start going here. If you can see, when you start bending, you get joints. It's almost like vertebrae in the neck of a giraffe in a way, because you have these joints, and where you put pressure on the bend, so they start to segment, and so the curvature is not so good. So I think this may have worked in a way, but I don't think it's going to work overall, and I'm going to rethink the way that that's done. I have to think about this one because I have got several curve bay platforms on the lower part of new Sandling Junction, and they are very definitely curves. So I've got to think about how I do that. I do have a couple of ideas. One of those will be to template the curvature that I need on between the tracks, so I can work out a template, and I will then probably see if I can plot that in a program like Inkscape or Illustrator or something like that, where I can actually plot the exact shape of the baseboard, mimic to the top board, and then quite simply allow for the 2mm wood that I'm using, and to be able to just put them around in one segment at a time, glue it in place, hold it there, and so you get a perfect curve with a timber instead of relying on these joints. This is just not going to work. So another failure. But there you go. I mean, it's all a learning curve. It's all the process of doing what we're doing. As modelers, you know, we try something, it works fantastic, we move forward. If it doesn't work, we have to sit, scratch our heads and think again, and that's where I'm at with all of this. So I then come up with an idea of making a model based on this one here, where I make individual sections. Now again, there are drawbacks with this, because I noticed that on my lines that are coming into the terminal station, they're not exactly straight. Well, one of them is a bit of a bow in it. Now I've got two options with that. I lift that track and make sure it's absolutely straight, and any other ones I make absolutely straight. That's more of a faff than I'm really prepared to do, because it just throws everything out of whack somewhere along the line. So how can I address that? Well, I can either forget it, it is minimal. Maybe if the carriages just move away and then come back in, maybe unless you're going to run a line of camera down there to see it, you're not going to notice it too much. I will look at that before I make that final decision, don't worry. However, I needed to do this. Now, until recently, I was working on pieces of board that I had cut for one of my other laser engravers. It was only a 360 square bed. So since I've been going with the Creality Falcon 2 Pro, it's a 400 bed. So I ordered myself some 400 cut MDF from a company called Hobart's in Kent. Very good distributor of all things laser in terms of everything you need to know, from perspex to wood and everything else, but it's all laser grade, and they will send it out to you ready cut for what your needs are. So simply I bought a 2mm laser grade MDF. It was a 400 by 800 sheet, which they happily cut in half for me, and that is fantastic. So I've got loads of sheets to play with. Now then, this was just a test piece, and it had its issues. I worked out some of for the edging and the slabs, and for a double-sided tracks coming in on each side. It didn't print the outer one, so that was a mess up of mine. I used a box idea. This idea is using tabs and slots. Now, I don't know very much about tabs and slots at all, and I'm having a very steep learning curve this last week trying to figure out how to make them. However, there are several prescribed platforms called box makers that you can enter the parameters and the details you need, and it will generate the SVG or DXL file that you need to be able to create a box in whichever design you've put forward. There are things like kerfs. Now, kerf is a name given to the fact that when you burn material away with the head of your laser, it will destroy a certain amount of wood, and it's going to be lost. So that is called the kerf. Now, the name kerf is the same whether you're using a hand saw and you're sawing through wood. The lost material between the two pieces is the area of the kerf, and it's what that blade destroys, and you can't retrieve or get back. You have to allow for that. Certainly if you're cutting timbers by hand, you have to allow for that in your measuring. So the kerf is quite important, and it does take a lot of play, and that is an extremely detailed, complex subject all of its own, and not for this video. However, I created this box, and some of it worked, some of it didn't, and I've been changing around with the parameters. This is a mock-up that I made. Let's get rid of that, so I don't want to get it confused with other stuff. This is just a very quick mock-up that I made the other day. This is that box as I've suggested. This didn't work. I was hoping that I could just push that in and slot braces through here to help. I don't think that worked for me because the kerf on here didn't allow the tabs to go in easily. So maybe rethink it, maybe, I don't know yet, maybe just expand these just a tad to allow the tabs to go in and gab some extra strength. However, I did glue the tabs in. I just shaved off these little tabs here and put the braces in. It works perfectly well, so you don't really need them. This was an afterthought, just making sure that everything was on the same level. The idea of this is to be able to have, whether I put them individually one next to the other or whatever, is to be able to lift them up, take them off the layout, put them on this bench and do some further work to them should I feel the need to. There are some drawbacks. This is an open tray box, so if I was to lift this off, there would be nothing except, well, if you can see there, that was just not a mismeasure, it's just the limitations of the material that I was using on this little tryout. The thing is that it is an open box, and what I've done is I've made the slots with holes in so that I could actually pass wire through, and in the latest iteration I've put holes in the bottom, not the tab marks, so that I can drop wires through to a bus or an accessory bus further along the line. And the thing is that once you put this top on, this is now inaccessible. So what do we do? Do we just put this all together, lay this on our layout without the top on, and then we can put a wiring in for anything such as lamps that we may want to put on the top of our platform here. Once it's all decorated, once it's all done and weathered in, we can do that. So yeah, it's not as easy as that in a way, because I need to get these right on each occasion. I've tried to make it so I line up the slab here with the edging of the box underneath, just to give me a bit of a line to work to. Lots of things that didn't quite work out with this one that have had to be changed. Some of the dimensions were incorrect here on what I've printed, such as these that didn't work here. Let's put it around so you can get it right. So there we are. Now that doesn't work because I measured it too. Where's that gone? There you go. Let's get this right. So yes, I did that, and as I say, the measurements just were too big, so it wasn't correct. So I have made a modular piece of this. It is 380 millimeters long. Just give me enough room not to take it right to the edge of the board. That way, if the board is slightly off when I put it in the engraver, I'm not going to end up with bits missing. So 380 gives me 10 mil each side of the board to play with. And I have created a new box. I have added for the kerf so that this is not loose and it is a good joint. It sits there, it's not flapping, it doesn't fall off, and that will glue. That will create my box for this. And then I hope that I've got everything in place. I made a couple of additions to this because I've noticed on some other models of platforms that you get a gutter running down through the center. I've not got that sort of angle. I know James once in one of his videos created a lovely platform where he actually sloped in. I'm sure it can be done. Even with this, just by changing some of the end pieces so it slots in. But this is what I've got. Sorry. Let's just do that bit again then. So that's the idea, and then I hope to be able to show you that this will then sit here. I've made it so that it's the right depth now as a side wall. It matches the length of the wood and the box overall. So put that in. Now this is by no means the final iteration. I am sure that between me doing this one and you guys watching this one being done, that an idea or two may come up to further enhance. I've already seen one thing, that the way I've got this design now, that this wall, when it's applied with a bit of corbelling, will come almost flush to there. So there's a little bit of me thinking, well, maybe I should remake this box just a little bit thinner so that I can actually have a little bit of a lip on the final look on here. So this comes around, creates a lip, and that's the whole idea. Primarily is for me to make a platform that I can push together or slot together with wiring availability and running wire through all of the supports inside so that they are able and not having to drill or touch them later, to have a surface here that is brick or indeed plain if I wanted to, like that, where I could apply brick paper if I wanted to. So hopefully I can't show you that too well, but like that. So you can put brick paper to that, or indeed like that. Now the way this is all leading to is that I hope that if I get this right, there's a lot of ifs in there. If I can get this right, then maybe I can offer this as an option for other people if they wanted to, maybe set up a little shop or something, I don't know, via something. And you know, if it works for me and it is quite a simple kit to put together, then maybe it'll work for some other people who want a simple platform option without going to the sort of Hornby type plastic train set type things, and just have a little bit of individuality. I'm not sure whether to continue those gutter lines down the ramp. Would they have done that, or maybe they would have come so far then stopped there somewhere? I don't know. It's all about developing this as an idea. But initially I'm just making this idea for Sandling Junction so that I can create my platform sections. Indeed, this one, see, I've created the base for this to continue on. And maybe I can't make this a little box because of the angle that that's going to go down at through there to create the base like that. This is going to be in every one that I do, but I can turn this feature off, so I can just print another module here and forget the ends if I don't need them. So I've got those on a different layer so that they can be printed or not printed depending on my needs for Sandling Junction. However, the idea is that, as I say, I want to make this a kit that I can use for Sandling Junction, and it's a long way from that one. And this is where I've got to so far. I'm going to make this one up and see what I still need to develop with this to make it even better. So this is just another tryout, as this one was here and as this one was here, and the failure of the long platform over there. So I'm going to glue this together now and see where we go with that, and I'll come back and finish this video off. Sorry it's been a long chatty one, but hopefully I just wanted to give you a bit of background about what I've been doing, why I've been doing it, and some of the issues that I have come up with during the course of trying to develop this one. And put everything out of the way for the minute. I don't need any of these pieces. I have even printed a 2mm core ball. Now that came out and it should have been saved inside, but you can see that fell through and got double burned. So that piece probably won't work. However, this one did manage to stay in. And it's a bit of corbelling that's got a nice look to that. I just need to cut another one of these out of another piece of scrap, and that'll be fine. Right, okay, I'm going to use some of the lovely wood glue. One of the issues that you have when it comes to either a wood product like this, or indeed a wood product with a self-adhesive brick texture added to it, is that when you come to paint it, or whether you come to use gravel and you start laying your ballast down and all the water and the wood glue. So what I'm doing, one, I'm using exterior quality, so it will not reactivate, unlike the fact that when you ballast you use the green one, the interior one, so that if you ever need to reactivate your ballast, then you can, because the water will reactivate the glue. However, this one will not, so be aware of that. And the other thing, once this is made, the whole of this will be made with a full matte varnish finish, so it will protect the wood from soaking up any water in the future, and hopefully that will be a problem. However, my also ambition with this is, as I said, to make it modular, and so that all I have to do is put a line down where this sits and ballast only to that area, or I can use a bit of clean film along the edge and up the side and over this platform to protect it as I do that, so I get an absolute line that this will then sit back in against. So lots of ways of doing it, but it's just getting the right one that works for you. Okay, a little bit of plastic and get a bit of glue out that I can dip into. This way of creating a box is so easy if you don't have the design skills or the ability just to create tabs and sort of this sort of thing in your design application. Now Lightburn and Inkscape, I think you can do all of those things. I personally lack the skills right now to create my own tabs and slots independently of a generator. Now it won't always be that way. I shall overcome that problem, but right now I don't have sufficient skill to be able to do that. So that is it. And the idea being that once that's all dried and once you've done all your wiring, you simply box it up. I've made that spot on, it's dead flush. The next one can go onto it, or indeed the end panels can be made that it will just, that will go on the end. I want to make a wall for the back of this, so that's another thought, but then that will go there. And that can be sitting on like so, and that becomes your platform. All looks good, doesn't it? Well, I hope it does anyway, but that's the idea. And so what I'm going to do now is quite simply stop the video here. I'm going to put some weight on this. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to take the weights off now so we can carry on with this. Put them over there out the way for a moment, and this has glued up very, very nicely. The weights have kept it nice and solid. Just something like that. So I want to make a rigid structure of this part. And I have one made. So I'm going to have to redesign the next cut to allow for two. All right, enough is enough. So the idea is that I'm going to put this all together now just to make sure that everything fits as I want it to. I also want to redesign this a little bit here so that when I have cut these out, these top platforms, and possibly even these ones too, that I can run a 4mm line down here, just a slightly engraved one, so that when I come to place the top on this, I can actually get this perfectly lined up here, and so that I see exactly where that mark is. I don't make any mistakes. I can glue the top on, turn it back over, and then all these other little bits and pieces, whether blank and paper or whether engraved brick, can then go on and be correctly placed, and that way nothing is left. So I've got lots of little things going on in my head that I need to do. None of that really makes a jot of difference now, because I would like to get all of this put together and see how this structure may go together. Okay everybody, well I think that I'm going to call it a day there, because the video has taken quite a while to do, and I've gone through the whys, the wherefores, and all the little iterations and steps that I've taken to get my plans to where they are right now. And I've glued up the first part of the platform with the box section. So I'm going to take this onto a second film, and I'm going to complete the construction and bring it, as it were, to a finished state. No decoration, no weathering or anything like that, just the actual construction. And I'm going to go through what went well, what didn't go so well, things that I need to change, and what I'm planning to do in the next version of this after this next video. So hopefully you'll join me for that. And yeah, we'll just see how it all turns out. So I'll see you in part 2 of this video coming up very soon.